No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning, good morning. This is the No Way Jose podcast. You are watching the morning dump or listening if you're on the audio podcast. I do want to remind you guys, for my audio listeners, I am sorry. You guys are not seeing anything right now, but you will see a big dump here soon, probably 3 or 4 episodes this weekend. I'm having issues. I swapped over my host, and this weekend I will finish the swap. I will figure it out whether I go back to my old host or I go to the new one. I will figure out all this nerd shit. That will be this weekend, so that's why there hasn't been any audio podcast posted this week. Issues with the host, but yeah, do want to let me guys let me know if I'm sounding good, if I'm looking good, all that. This is the day after Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I told you guys about my Thanksgiving situation yesterday, so I didn't really do much. Just kind of hung out at home with the family, so that was fun. I do want to, while it's still fresh in my mind, I want to apologize somewhat for last stream yesterday. At the very end, someone's super chat or rumble rant, whatever you want to call it, at the very end, so I missed that. So I just want to give a shout out to Andrew Jacobs real quick. He sent a super chat where he rumble rant yesterday, said, "Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Jose. Glad to have met you on this past year, even though I've been aware of you since seeing you on Timcast last year." Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Andrew. Thank you for the super chat. Glad to have met you as well. You've definitely been quite the supporter, so I appreciate it. You're a Tower Gang fan as well, so that's always dope. Yeah, sound off in the chat, guys. Let me know if you hear me. Everything's sounding good. And we'll get into some stuff. While we're waiting for more people to roll in, I do want to remind you guys that today's episode was brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. I don't have my shit. Sorry, I'm all out of whack. Tired of the razor burn irritation and ingrown hairs caused by deep penetrating multi-blade cartridges? Then this is the way to go. Return to the traditional shave. You can shave just like your grandpa used to, whether you're shaving your entire face or just edging up your beard. Our single blades provide a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard issue gives you the one traditional safety razor pictured here and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. $75 is what that puts you out. That's to save for an entire year. Let's be real, that just completely depends on how frequently you shave. It's going to last a lot of people a lot longer, less than me so far, a lot longer. I've barely put a dent in mine, but if you're someone who shaves every single day, then you may actually need that or more. And so if that's the case, if you're shaving daily and you like to keep a fresh razor, you're not a scrub like me, who, I would probably honestly be able to shave every day with the 100 stainless steel you get in the standard issue, but I'm kind of a scrub who will probably keep reusing them when I probably shouldn't. But if you're someone who wants to keep a fresh razor and shave on the daily, the Quarter Shave Club is the way to go. That'll put you at about 25 cents per replacement blade. Nadeau also has shave soaps and 3-in-1 body, hair, and face soaps too. I really am a big fan of both of those. They're great for shaving with. It's a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born out of refusing the mandate. That's, Nadeau was given the choice between getting the poke or getting out of the military, and he got out of the military and started Nadeau Shave Co. So use Jose at checkout for 10% off your order. Support those who support me and the Liberty. So if you want to get something out of your support for me, this is the way to do it because he supports me. So in a roundabout way, by getting this product, you are also supporting me. So that's how money works. All right, let's get back into it. Let's check in with you guys, see how you're doing. Ooh. If it's not Nadeau, it's no. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna start using that one. I need like a catchphrase. That's what I need. Good morning, Jose. Good morning, everyone. All right, cool. I just want to make sure. I mean, apparently, I guess you guys are hearing me. You guys are just being quiet today. I did want to start off kind of on a fun note today. Just kind of funny. This is not at all related to any really serious sort of, I guess, content that I normally would sort of cover, but I don't know. I found this particularly funny. Now, this is from Dissident Media, who I had Amy Lepore on the show a while back talking about the hurricane stuff. I probably at some point need to get her husband on. He's good stuff. Maybe something about Israel or something. I don't know. He's good on a few different topics. But either way, this is Dissident Media. I think they're trying to go to be kind of like a Blaze, but for like libertarians. If I'm understanding correctly, I believe this is kind of the shift Michael Heiss made. So after leaving LPMC or whatever the hell he's doing. So anyways, that seems to be the next move they're making, which whatever, all the more power to them. Obviously, I mean, most people know, I've been critical of the LPMC and stuff like that before, but hey, I think this is dope. So, I mean, I have no critiques here. You guys want to transfer that influence over to the, the free market, over into that realm and not interact in that partyarchy silliness. Cool. Hell yeah, dude. I invite it. I'm looking forward to see what these guys do. But either way, this isn't political at all. This is just stupid. I don't know if you guys seen this Wicked thing, which I think it's a play on I don't know what it was. What even is that? The Green Witch, that would be Wizard of Oz, I guess? I don't know. I don't really know much about this. I just know it's got Ariana Grande and this bald black broad. And it's just kind of people have been poking fun at the press, what's the word I'm looking for? The press junket that they've been on lately. The circuit, I guess is the word I was looking for. So, all right, listen to this, and then I have something else for you guys that should make you laugh. Sorry for the audio listeners. I mean, maybe you'll get something out of this, but yeah. All right, you just picture Ariana Grande on one side, and then on the other, some bald black broad with a ton of earrings and nose rings and stuff like that. So, all right, let's go. Oh crap! Sorry, volume was off. All right, here we go.
I'm a person, and I feel, and I have feelings, and I can share them.
Mm-hmm. And if you need to cry right now, you cry.
Yeah. And someone said to me once that the green was the thing that I would love the most about Alphabet, that I would want to stay green.
Is it just me, or is that quiet
actually,
as hell, guys?
Being green, yes, I loved playing this character, but every time I took the makeup off, I loved who I was even more. So I've come away feeling really beautiful.
You f***ing are.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, God.
You
absolutely.
know?
Yeah. What you've brought to this film and to these characters, you've not just taken care of them, you have transformed them for good.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is also my first time ever doing a junkie.
You have been the
amazing.
light
You're
of the
amazing.
day. You are
truly
such a gift.
You brought such light into the room. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for coming
you.
into this room
Thank
today.
you.
We needed to come in.
All right, pretty damn ridiculous. Yeah, it is quiet. I don't know why. When I watched on my phone, it wasn't that quiet. I'm sorry for the audio listeners, or even really, I guess, the video listeners. Let's see if the next one is as quiet. This is... All right, let's share this, Tim. Here we go.
With the roles was something that I think that should be studied.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Dayton, Ohio.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Dayton, Ohio. I can't even breathe. Oh my god.
Did I say something wrong?
It has been an honor to stand by Cynthia during this hard time. I mean, her battling cancer.
Oh no, I'm just bold.
I'm sorry, I'm actually, I'm a little hungry.
Oh, she's hungry. This is, okay. We'll come back. She knows everything. She even knows, she understands the black experience. I don't think you understand. She's a chameleon. She's a shapeshifter. She knows more about being black than I would say even I do. So sweet.
Okay. You need to go potty. Okay, love you. I love you.
And nobody and all of us.
Girl, you know I hate that.
All right, great stuff. All right, I know that's a little silly way to start out the show. This, I don't know who this chick is, but she also had a great Kamala impression. Not this girl, the other girl in that little second parody skit we had there. All right, I hope you guys got something out of that. I'm sure that was an awful experience for the audio listeners. I'm sorry. But yeah, let's keep it moving for today. Let's get into a little actual content. Here is something from my buddy Jacob Winograd I thought was interesting. Let's look at the first part. He shared the other day, God's chosen people are not the Jews. The promised land is not Israel. God's chosen people is the church, the body of Christ, saved through faith by grace. The promised land is the already presently reigning kingdom of Christ and the future reality of the new heavens and new earth. All right, now you guys know I am not religious. I used to be. I grew up in the church, so I am very familiar with a lot of the doctrines. I went to Christian school and everything for something like well over 4 years. So I am pretty well versed in all this stuff. Not coming from, it wasn't like I was raised like atheist or agnostic or whatever, and that's why I'm the way I am. If anything, I had a walking away, which I don't know. I'm not gonna argue with anybody about any of that. I'm just saying it's not like I'm like ignorant of this stuff. So I do recall the dispensationalist takes in how essentially, obviously, Jacob's playing off of all of that here. Obviously, the dispensationalist take is that God's chosen peoples are the Jews and that the promised land is Israel, and then the God's chosen people is like the Jews once again. Oh, then he said the second part. Yeah, and so it makes more sense to me. It is bizarre looking back at my time in the church, I wouldn't say I was like in some like super strong dispensationalist church or anything, but it was definitely an idea that got brought around a lot. It seemed to be very much always like, we're always for Israel, and it did seem to be implied that it is like the very few times it did come up, it would be like, yeah, the chosen people are Jews, but we usually just wouldn't really, peel the layers back on that at all or really examine it. But it's one of those things you just kind of take for granted until you really think about it. It doesn't really make sense from a religious perspective, in my opinion, in any reasonable perspective from my understanding of Christianity, that it would make sense that the Jews would be some sort of magical chosen people, that it would be, bound by genetics. I mean, if you read the New Testament, it's very clear. A lot of it is about being saved by his God, Jesus' works, stuff like that. It's not nothing by like your existence. I mean, I've heard all sorts of weird dispensationalist takes, and that somehow Jews have a different way to go about getting saved, and that they somehow get another choice, or I don't remember. It was very weird doctrine when it comes to that. It made no sense. It's almost like you should clue you off to something, that why is this so confusing? It's like, well, no, maybe they're just like everyone else according to this doctrine, and that they should go about it the same way everyone else does. All right. All right. Okay, and then let's. All right, here we go. Here is. And he quote tweeted today, and this is the part I kind of want to read. He said, "Dispensationalists as Zionists did not like my post, and I was misquoting scripture. You tell me, what is the objection Paul is addressing here when he says it is not as through the word of God has failed? For I could wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. They are Israelites, and to them belong the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the worship, and the promises. But it is not as though the word of God has failed, but not all who are descended from Israel belong to Israel, and not all are children of Abraham, because they are his offspring. But through Isaac shall your offspring be named. This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring." All right, I have cats arguing again. I don't know what is going on lately. They're upset. I have my kid chasing after it real quick. So if you see my kiddo in the background, that's why. That's why I muted there. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry to get distracted by that. All right. Dispensationalists, as well as those who reject Augustinian soteriology. I'll be honest, I have no idea what the fuck that is. So go check out my buddy Jacob Winograd over at Biblical Anarchy. His show is Biblical Anarchy Podcast. Go check that out if you want to dig into some more of that stuff. I am not up on my scripture well enough to know what the hell that is. Can only respond to Romans 9 with mental gymnastics and not a plain reading of the text. Also, and before someone brings up Romans 11, I'm sure they will. When they do, they need to reconcile chapters 9 through 10 with it, as well as verse 23 with verse 26. Spoiler, they can't. God doesn't choose according to the flesh. He never has, which makes sense. At least by I will say, if you, from my recollection, I mean, maybe I'll make some religious people upset. If you only read the Old Testament, yeah, you would get that takeaway, in my opinion, that yes, the God shows people the Jews, and it really is just that simple. It's like Jews, and that's that. And then it's the New Testament where it kind of flips it on its head a little bit, and now it's anyone can be saved type deal. Obviously, that's a very, very, very basic take on it. I'm not a religious folk at all, so that's not at all my area of expertise. I have stopped debating religion a long time ago. That was maybe about like 5 years ago plus. You would have caught me to where I could talk your ear off. I probably would even have known what Augustinian soteriology is at one point. I used to be really into this stuff when I was going through my period of time where I was kind of moving away from Christianity. I got really into logic and, kind of like debunking things. And then So, but then after a while, I got tired of being the gay, little angry atheist. And so I've forgotten most of that stuff. So, but either way, it's very silly. All right. I do have an update from yesterday's stream. I brought up that one of the Rothschilds died, and I missed a very, very specific, or not specific, I guess, but a very important detail that I didn't even notice. So here, this is from Andrew Bigdoor, who, this is what caught my attention. He showed up on my feed. So thank you, Andrew, for pointing this out, because I would have missed it. It was already weird enough to me. I was in the air about whether I wanted to bring it up on the show yesterday, because it was just like, as of yesterday, it was literally just Rothschild died in fire. So fishy, but like nothing substantial at all. But now this is Rothschild member died in fire on Lookout Mountain in Laurel Canyon. Like Lookout Mountain Avenue in Laurel Canyon. A lot weirder. Obviously, anyone who's read David McGowan's, was it the Weird Tales of Laurel Canyon or something like that? I forget. His Laurel Canyon book. That should perk your ears up, make you wonder. Well, okay, that's weird. I mean, obviously, it just means he lived there, but it's just bizarre. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that little tiny detail. Nothing too incredibly important, but I missed that, and I felt a little embarrassed that I didn't catch that the other day, and I wanted to let you guys know about that. All right, weird scenes inside the canyon. Thank you. Hey, say what now? All right, I have a thread for you guys. We're going to go into a little bit. This is a frequently referenced part of the lore of Oklahoma City bombing. This is in relation to Timothy McVeigh when he got arrested. Just shortly after the bombing, he got arrested on a separate charge that had nothing to do. I think it was like something to do with like a concealed weapon, which obviously we'll get into that. And no tags on the vehicle as well. So, which is a lot of people point out like how fishy that is. There's no tags. Did he want to get arrested? This seems kind of like a setup. Blah 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 blah. And we'll get into that. There's a lot of skepticism thrown around his arrest. So we'll take a little bit of a deep dive there today. And yeah, all right. So here is Richard again. This is, get used to it, guys. At OKC_facts. Says Trooper Charlie Hanger's dashcam footage from April 19th, 1995. The FBI was forced to release this footage through a FOIA lawsuit. However, the tape they produced shows no arrest and appears to be edited. How can we know for sure? All right, here's a quick little video. You're not going to be able to hear anything. It's just a little security video for those listening. But you can see the vehicle. You can see the door open. Not much going on. And that's it. Yeah, you really just see it. So it's like literally just a 9-second clip of just the car. So if we're to understand that this is the entirety of it, which I'm not saying it is, then yeah, this is fishy. So I don't know. I'd have to ask Richard. He would know if this is the entirety of the footage that we get. Obviously, if this is it, yeah, it's fishy. What the hell? All right. Well, we can know for sure by looking at exhibit number 38 and Jesse Trendu's 2014 FOIA trail over the OK bomb tapes reproduced below. There's a passage at the end highlighted that is important. All right. Now, I'm just going to read that one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you guys want to, you can go find the thread, or you can pause the video here and read it. Also, when asked about the observation of an object on the ground near the stopped McVeigh automobile, Hanger, which is the arresting officer, was confident this was the gun he had recovered from the McVeigh vehicle. And this, we'll read the top part. The following investigation was conducted at Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on April 21st, 1995, by Special Agent Gary O. Witt. So this is just kind of a report on this. All right. All right. It's an FBI insert E12 by S.A. Special Agent Gary Witt. In the insert, Witt comments that he asked Hanger on 421 a question about the observation of an object on the ground near the stopped McVeigh vehicle. Hanger replied it was McVeigh's gun. An observation of an object on the gun or on the ground. Bizarre. All right. As Jesse said in court, if we are to believe that there is no tape of the actual stop and arrest of McVeigh, then where does this observation come from of a gun on the ground by the vehicle? The document serves to confirm before the FBI released their sanitized copy of the video, a result of being forced to, via FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, there once did exist a full copy of the video, one where you can see an object on the ground, the one that Special Agent Witt asked Hanger about on April 21st. That same video, the full unsanitized version, would have depicted the arrest, McVeigh getting out of his vehicle and walking towards Hanger. Hanger seeing the bulge in his windbreaker, knowing it's a gun, he detains McVeigh, telling him to put his hands in the car after he removes McVeigh's shoulder-holstered pistol. Politely, McVeigh told the officer that his gun was loaded. Taking no chances, Hanger allegedly replied, "So is mine," as he held his pistol to the suspect. Some reports said he had it against his head. Meanwhile, we also have the Houston Chronicle's Friday, May 12, 1995 report, which has law enforcement sources saying that videotape taken from Hanger's dashcam shows a brown pickup truck that pulls over ahead of McVeigh. They claim the plate was Colburn's, which Colburn is this chemist guy. I believe it was from his Kingman, Arizona days. That's a whole other deep dive, but point being, this is one of the many people he was supposedly associated with. This guy, I believe, was thought to have a hand in the creation, according to the multiple John Doe 2 theory by Ham. This is one of the many John Doe 2s, essentially. One of the many people who helped in this. One of the multiple cells of the ARA. I believe he was supposed to be part of the cell that was dedicated to bomb making. All right. Colburn, age 35 or 36. This is his little thing here. This is from the Houston Chronicle's report. So Colburn, age 35 or 36, is described as 6'1" and 195 pounds with green eyes, which roughly matches the description of John Doe 2. Law enforcement sources says Thursday night that Colburn was identified through his brown pickup. It was captured by chance on video taken from the state trooper's car that stopped Timothy McVeigh for speeding only 80 minutes after the blast. That trooper had a hell of a day, a federal investigator said. Brown pickup. So this is claiming that was identified through. It kind of implies that there was a possibility he was identified that way, or that there was a brown pickup car that was there. All right, here is a Houston Chronicle piece by Peter Copeland and Dan Thomason. Both Jesse Trendu and another investigator tried contacting both to ask them about their source for this story and were unsuccessful. So, all right, we weren't able to find more about the sources. So, to some extent, it is what it is, but it is bizarre, and it does kind of match up with the idea that, hey, why has this video been manipulated? Then, totally separate from this bizarre Chronicle story, are a handful of eyewitnesses. I know two of them, though surely there are others, from a 302 report and a coverage of a witness who testified at the 2004 Nichols State trial. One such witness to what might be redacted and sanitized from the FBI's version of the dashcam footage is Scott Gregory. Gregory testified at the Nichols State trial, where he said that he saw McVeigh being arrested along I-35 North. Gregory said that he saw a brown pickup truck driven by a man in a baseball cap backed up near McVeigh's Mercury. He testified, "I thought that was so odd. What an idiot. Why are you stopping to talk to that police officer when he's obviously in a high-stress situation?" So this guy saw the brown pickup as well. Okay. Which is kind of like, so he pointed out it's weird. Why would this guy stop by someone getting pulled over? That is weird. Another account of the brown pickup traveling in tandem with McVeigh comes from a 302 for Kevin Brown. He passed by Hanger, McVeigh, and the brown pickup and saw all three. He was interviewed by Special Agent Gary Bolin of the DEA, and that was reproduced in the FBI 302. Brown said that it was his impression that the brown truck and McVeigh's Mercury Marquis were traveling together because they'd pulled over together. He described the truck as a long bed Chevy, 1974 to 75, brown paint and dark tinted windows. Earlier descriptions of the brown pickup truck spotted fleeing the scene of the Murrah blast are very different. The APB for it said a late model, almost new Chevy full-size pickup, brown in color with tinted windows and smoke-colored bug deflector on the front. Meanwhile, Steve Colburn, for his part, did own a brown pickup, as the Chronicle reported. However, it varied greatly from the circulated APB. It was a late 70s Chevy with a two-tone cream-brown paint job, no tinted windows, no bug catcher. Here's Colburn's 1995 truck. So you can see the photo here. That matches what Richard just said. This truck was also broken down on April 19th, 1995. Sitting in a driveway next to a trailer with cobwebs in the back. This was reported in media at the time, but only after the Chronicle had said that it was this truck in the dash cam video. So, okay. So the point being there to take away is supposedly it was broken down, but that didn't get reported until after there was these reports going around of a brown truck being seen around at the time, right at the scene of McVeigh's arrest, essentially pulling up near it, which is bizarre. So it kind of implies maybe that was seeded later to counteract this report. I don't know. And someone says here, Slimsies, who's a follower of mine, says, what do you think they are hiding? Always thought JD2 left in another vehicle. He says, not quite sure. Obviously something must be important to the video, and I suspect it might show another vehicle did pull over ahead of McVeigh and that perhaps John Doe 2 was in that vehicle, so that's why it was censored. It does seem like someone's implying in this that they even went so far as to try to talk to the cop, like he pulled over. It wasn't like he just kind of... So maybe he just thought like, oh, it's for the tags. Maybe he thought like he wouldn't get arrested. Because, if I was driving with someone and they got pulled over and I knew it was for something like a tags, or if I was going with them, I'd probably pull over and be like, hey, officer, we can leave the car here or whatever, or you can bring it to the... if he's not getting arrested, then you can drive them. Be like, obviously this isn't road legal, so we'll take him in my car that is type deal. So, I don't know, maybe that's what was going on there. You would think he would just fucking turn tail and run as soon as he got pulled over, but I guess not. All right, let's check in on you guys. All right, that's all of that one. Let's check on you guys and your chats. Which church? What were we talking about? LDS. Hey, bro, love show, love intros. Thank you, Bob. What's up, friends? Australia is the first country in the world to censor social media and the internet. It's crazy here. Oh, you're over in Australia? I am sorry. I'm assuming you are probably watching this on a... VPN. Too bad I don't have like a VPN sponsor. That would be a good time to swap over that. Good morning, you racist fucks. Happened yesterday. Oh yeah, wasn't it Australia? Someone was not. I remember seeing something a while ago online of they were talking about censoring Twitter, and there was some big account that was they were literally, I guess people were ratting on him. Was it Simon Goodall or Goodek or something like that? There's some guy out there that was literally, Twitter was like tattling on him that he, some of his opponents that, hey, this guy's still on Twitter doing X, Y, and Z or whatever. I forget what the specifics of you guys' censorship is. And so that's the only way I knew about it. I'm sorry you live in that hellhole. Yep. All right. Atheists love throwing Christians on their bus over unicorns being the Bible, but the atheists are aware that rhinos with one horn, binicorns, had two. Around 1800, they started using the wharf rhino. Actually, I agree that I think there's a lot to be gleaned from the Bible. You don't have to believe everything's true without it's not that crazy that they would be describing things that just at that time was kind of whoa to them. So. Yeah, bro, VPNs are going to be big business. Yeah, it is wild. It really is crazy how just a simple VPN fixes everything. When I was deployed, we were over in Saudi Arabia, Wait, not Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Why did I say Saudi Arabia? I guess I'm still kind of tired. For those who aren't aware, I've been waking up, I've been bottle feeding kitties. So I've been having to get up like every other hour, every 2 or 3 hours during the night and during the day to continue to feed them. So that's why I'm a little bit out of it. But yeah, when I was in Qatar, like things like porn were illegal and all you needed was a VPN. So it is wild how things, government's trying to make things illegal, but it's like, well, that sucks, bud. I'm just going to go ahead and clickety-click, and now I can do it. So, all right, let's, this came in literally like seconds before I started, and I just want to cover this real quick. We have talked about this on the show a few times, about the claims that Jamie Foxx poisoned Diddy. And then we saw the one with the bodyguard who made the claim. So there's like a 2-minute clip from Rogan. We'll play in a second. It was from Tanya that shared it. He said, Ted Gunderson also claimed poisoning over many years. It's humbling to realize by the time I met Ted, I was 27 years old, that this man had more years as an agent than I'd actually lived. Now I'm 30 years in because of him and Terry. So let's watch this video because I just thought it was interesting that I guess it did get covered on Rogan. Supposedly Jamie Foxx, which I think we covered this on the show recently. Jamie Foxx himself supposedly also, I forget on what, I think it was on a comedy special that's like due to come out soon or something like that. So yeah, I believe that was that's where Jamie Foxx himself, I believe, said it. Which this had come out before that too. So all right, anyways, let's do this.
The P. Diddy. Why can't we get anything concrete? All we really have is the hotel hallway beat ass.
That one is in the process. At least,
I don't know.
It's gonna be but hold months. On. He's in jail. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of lawsuits. That one is like, we're going to find out. Yeah. Jamie Foxx just recently said that P. Diddy poisoned him.
Whoa.
And that's why he got that stroke.
I've heard that.
He talked about it on stage.
He said it?
He said it.
He got poisoned?
He said it.
He goes, I didn't have a heart attack because of the vaccine. It was Diddy shutting me up.
See if we can find that, because he said it on stage.
Diddy was poisoning.
Isn't it wild how we remember, like, that was the thing. When this happened, I mean, the joke was, like, and a lot of people being like, haha, the vaccine. But it's like, is it crazy how like that was the conspiratorial position, but it was even more conspiratorial? It's like, no, there was a giant sexual blackmail operation going on, and this dude was trying to speak out, and he got poisoned by P. Diddy. Can you imagine trying to say that at that time? Because I believe when he got poisoned, this was well before any of the Diddy information was really pouring out. Like even on platforms like mine, like we're just now getting to the point where like places like Rogan are picking this up. So I mean, you follow shows like mine, we're well ahead of this type of stuff. But I mean, this is where we're at now. Point being, it's just funny that the original position was, this is because of the vaccine. That was crazy conspiratorial. But if we had known the truth, it was actually way more conspiratorial. But all right, let's keep going.
Bro,
whoa.
I think there was some crazy shit going on.
Like Cosby shit? Like drugging?
Diddy wasn't even that big.
I think
it was
murders.
Drake could do it.
There's alleged murders. A bunch of people that got pneumonia. A bunch of convenient.
Yep, which I mentioned before too. Was it God? I can't remember her name. The blonde girl who died in like I believe the 2000s. I keep wanting to say Meg Ryan, but I know it's not Meg Ryan. It's a completely different broad. God, what was she in? She was a really pretty girl. I don't know. I believe I shared it on one of these episodes where she died of pneumonia and their husband, something like 6 months later, died of pneumonia too. That was one of the ones that everyone like kind of was like, oh, how sad, drugs, and they just kind of chalked up as something related to drugs. Just assumed Brittany Murphy, I believe. That sounds right. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
People that died of pneumonia. Jamie Foxx addresses whether Diddy was responsible for his 2023 hospitalization while filming Netflix special. Holy shit.
Jamie Foxx has a Netflix special?
Netflix special.
Do they not care about at all stand-up?
Jamie Foxx is hilarious.
Audience members,
yeah,
hold on,
right,
go back.
I see him at clubs all the time, working out his bits.
What is that? Share
I only respect grinders.
The audience members had varying accounts of the comedian's words. Two of them claimed that Fox said Diddy was responsible for what happened to him, that he's the one who called the FBI on Diddy, who's currently in prison awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. A source close to Diddy insisted to Daily Mail that there is no truth to Sean Combs putting Jamie Foxx in the hospital.
There's no chance it was a joke?
I mean, yeah, it was a joke, but joke based on truth or not truth?
It is possible. That's totally possible. Daily Mail. That's totally possible, but it's also possible he was explaining while he wound up going to hospital, and he hasn't talked about it since. He never talked about it. Look at this. Big homie CC, a celebrity security guard, claimed in an interview with Cam Capone News last week that Fox was poisoned by Diddy. I know Combs poisoned Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx reported him to the FBI because of it. Jamie Foxx reported this man to the FBI because of this, he claimed. So I've seen that video where that guy's talking about how Jamie Foxx reported.
He was poisoned 3 times, I think, in it.
Oh, he said it as well?
He says, like, why do I have cyanide in my system?
Jesus Christ.
Why do I have? That's a legit question. Why do I have cyanide?
Oh, so look at this.
System?
Jamie Foxx wipes away tears as he gives his artistic explanation of mystery illness.
Oh, I love tears in a comedy special.
Hold
That's
on.
how we fall into clickbait.
What is that? Artistic explanation of mystery illness.
I know. We're on a weird site, and that's how you fall into clickbait. Oh, boy.
So I don't know if it's true. We won't know until we see the actual Jamie Foxx Netflix special, which Ari has booked.
If this is just some sort of hype for a Netflix special and nothing goes on, that'd be pretty wild. All right, let's pop into the chat again for you guys. It's I love the mate. Thanks. Been listening to videos for like 3 days. Your channel rocks. Hell yeah, dude. Thanks for popping over here. I'm assuming you just recently came on over. That's sick. Great show. Diddy is huge. Got to be connected to something bigger. Yeah, we've talked about this on the show quite a bit, especially in our Already Dead series with Austin. That was something we were spurging on big time. I think it may even have connections to the whole, as silly as this may sound, the beef between Kendrick and Drake. I really think there might be some there. We covered that quite a bit in the show. We analyzed some of the, as silly as it may sound, some of the lyrics here and there. Wild stuff. A lot of people don't realize that they're also under Universal Music Group. Both Drake and Kendrick actually, but Kendrick has a different contract than Drake does. So whereas his is more of like an independent type situation, where I believe they just handle like distribution or something like that, and they don't own his stuff. Whereas with somebody like Drake, they literally own his shit. So that's kind of like, I think if you look at that beef and you understand how the business of it, why Kendrick was kind of able to do what he do, making all these incredible implications and straight up accusations that seem to comport to some of the stuff going on in the Diddy stuff. So weird. A lot of stuff's going on in those circles, and I'm kind of hoping it blows up. And so... All right, must be true if Netflix isn't getting sued. Credible maybe. Wouldn't surprise me at this point on the timeline. But yeah, you keep an eye on it. We'll see. They're going to edit that Diddy shit out, I bet. I don't know. I guess I really feel like if it's like due to happen anyways, I mean, I really feel like that we're at the point with the Diddy thing that like it's so big that I just don't think... I mean, obviously there will be, and we're going to cover here in a little bit, we're going to do our reading of the Dutroux affair. So like, our third part of the reading of the Dutroux affair. So we'll kind of go into an actual situation where things do get covered up. And, long story short with the Dutroux affair, in the end, the Dutroux character ended up getting fairly screwed over. I don't think, if I recall correctly, it wasn't like a crazy sentence. It was still pretty lax. But he was the one who kind of got the bulk of the, like, look what a monster, look at the awfuls. Like, he got all the credit, whereas the actual real scandalous player, the one organizing things, the one, the mover and shaker, was the one Nihul, who got basically nothing. I believe he either got, like, time served or, like, 6 months or something ridiculous. And he kind of faded from memory to where, and then it became now, people call it the Dutroux affair, the Beast of Belgium, referring to Dutroux. The focus is Dutroux, whereas in reality it was Nihul. So my point being is it's not uncommon for some sort of, in the mix-up, things to blame to shift. Essentially, they found ways to manipulate things to get the outcome they want. But to some extent, they may have to take some sort of L. And I'm really at the point where I think the L is Diddy. Like Diddy, there's going to be people who go down in this. But now, is it going to be the actual movers and shakers? I don't know. I believe there are people bigger than Diddy that will probably get kind of the Nihul treatment, to where there will be maybe some sort of shade focus on them, but that will be kind of gone under the rug, and people will focus on the more scandalous stuff with Diddy, especially because he's more of a larger figure. Like, say if they were focusing on like the heads of UMG, it's like, what do you, like, I don't know, people aren't as interested in some fucking corporate CEO or whoever. They're more interested in like, oh, look at this celebrity, this musician. So I think that will probably be the focus. It'll be more scandalous. You'll get they'll throw flashy things in your face, and you'll be like, people will be like, whoa, that's interesting, as opposed to following the real thread, the real movers and shakers, the government interactions. Because I mean, it's almost certain. I'd be willing to bet like almost everything I own that there was government connections here. Because people like to act like, oh, this is just a perfectly naturally forming organic thing that happens in the music industry. It's like I don't. I mean, to some extent, yes, I think that might be sort of true. But the idea that it doesn't get infiltrated by intelligence in the process is a little bit ridiculous to me. So I think you're right on the money, or in the zone, most likely. Hell yeah, I am. All right, what else do we got for you today? I've got one more article I want to read for you guys before we move on. This was from the Tower Gang Telegram. They sent this over to me. They wanted me to cover this one for some reason, so I'm going to. Redacted FBI document hints at Israeli efforts to help Trump in 2016 campaign. Now, this is a 2020 article, so I mean it's a little bit old, but I don't know. Maybe there's something interesting to be said from here. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to read all of it. Roger Stone, a longtime confidant of President Donald Trump, who was convicted last year in Robert Mueller's investigation into ties between Russia and the Trump campaign, was in contact with one or more apparently well-connected Israelis at the height of the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign, one of whom warned Stone that Trump was going to be defeated unless we intervene, and promised we have critical intel. Now, keep in mind, this is 2016, so this is Hillary versus Trump, and this one was, this was the one that, like, before, everyone thought, it was, the feeling in the air was that Hillary was going to win, because we had gotten so used to the establishment always winning. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think to some extent Trump is a slightly different flavor of the establishment, but I don't think it's quite accurate to call him the establishment at this point in time, especially not this time, in 2016. So this was the feeling in the air that Hillary was going to do it. So I could see how people were like, hey, Hillary's going to win this. Israel might want to try to get involved, whatever. The exchange between Stone and this Jerusalem-based contact appears in FBI documents made public on Tuesday. The documents, FBI affidavits submitted to obtain search warrants in the criminal investigation into Stone, were released following a court case brought by the Associated Press and other media organizations. Longtime advisor Trump, Stone officially worked in the 2016 presidential campaign until August 2015, when he said he left and Trump said he was fired. However, he continued to communicate with the campaign, according to Mueller's investigation. The FBI material, which is heavily redacted, includes one explicit reference to Israel and one to Jerusalem, and a series of references to a minister, a cabinet minister, a minister without portfolio, and the cabinet dealing with issues concerning defense and foreign affairs, the PM, and the prime minister. And all these references, the names and countries of the minister and prime minister are redacted. Benjamin Netanyahu was Israel's prime minister in 2016, and the Israeli government included a minister without portfolio, Tazachi Hanakabi, appointed in May with responsibility for defense and foreign affairs. One reference to the unnamed PM on the material reads as follows: on or about June 28, 2016, message Stone, returning to D.C. after urgent consultations with PM in Rome. Must meet with you Wednesday. Eve and with DJ Trump. DJ Trump. All right, I'm never going to be able to unsee DJ Trump now, but that totally makes sense. Donald J. Trump. DJ Trump. I don't know how this is never caught out elsewhere. All right, anyways, Thursday in New York City, Netanyahu made a state visit to Italy at the end of June 2016. So matches up. They're referring to Netanyahu. God, look at that goofy fuck. There's a picture of Roger Stone. Man, I just can't take him seriously. All right, the explicit reference to Israel appears early in the text of a May 2018 affidavit by an FBI agent in support of an application for a search warrant, and relates to communication between Stone and Jerome Corsi, an American author, commentator, and conspiracy theorist. On August 20th, 2016, Corsi told Stone that they needed to meet with name redacted to determine what, if anything, Israel plans to do in October. Ooh, so an October surprise. Okay. Okay, this gets a little more interesting now. They're implying an October surprise, which, if I recall correctly, the October surprise ended up being the, what was his name? Comey coming out against Hillary. Well, not even like against. It was this weird against, but yet not really dependent on your. But it was kind of like she did some bad stuff, but not really, because it was like the email things, if I recall correctly. It's been a long time since 2016. Let me know in the chat if I'm off here, if there were some other October surprises that I'm not thinking of. But I believe that was the October surprise. A lot of people blame that election on the election was lost due to that. Do I believe that? Not necessarily. I think Trump would have probably won either way, but who knows? It could have swung it. I believe, if I recall correctly, that actually was supposedly there were a few little swing states or areas here and there that like had these changed, it would have made the difference. So I guess maybe theoretically that could have made the difference. I don't know. But either way, interesting. Makes you wonder if they had any hand in that. I mean, Mossad, Intel, they always kind of pretty much go hand in hand. So I don't know if it's really that crazy that they would maybe get in Comey's ear and say, hey, this is what we need you to do. I don't know. I wasn't going to read this whole article, but now I'm a little bit interested. The explicit reference to Jerusalem appears later in the same document in the context of communication between Stone and his unnamed contact in the Israeli capital. And, I wonder, this is obviously incredibly speculative, but I believe the big thing Trump did during his first term was he officially recognized Jerusalem as the capital, I believe. So I wonder if that was kind of a tit for tat, a little quid pro quo there. Who knows? I mean, you hook me up, I hook you up. I mean, they were both. I mean, that was kind of a big thing. So this would be kind of a big thing on his part. Like literally, if that somehow would arrange the October surprise. Obviously, incredibly speculative. All right. On or about August 12, 2016, message Stone. Roger, hello from Jerusalem. Any progress? He's going to be defeated unless we intervene. We have critical intel. The key is in your hands. Back in the U.S. next week. How is your pneumonia? Thank you. How is your pneumonia? That's creepy. I mean, obviously, I don't think that means anything, but considering we just watched the Diddy thing about the pneumonia, and then we're talking about Israel here and they are extremely spooky when it comes to offing people and stuff like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're somehow involved in the whole Diddy thing, because that's kind of their bread and butter right there. But yeah, either way, point being, a little weird that came up now. Probably has nothing to do with anything. He probably just had pneumonia at that time, but just, I don't know, I can't help but point out. It's weird. All right, Stone replied, I am well, marriage complicated, pondering R. The he is an apparent reference to Trump. Oh, the R, I believe that was like a sign off, like Roger, R, kind of, okay. Okay, the redacted material features numerous references to an October surprise. Okay, apparently relating to a document dumped by WikiLeaks' Julian Assange, tend to harm Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and salvage Trump's. A document dumped by WikiLeaks. God, I'm not very good at tracking what gets dumped when. I know there was the Podesta stuff, but I believe that was well before October, but I might be wrong. All right, referring to the Israel mentions in a report on the documents late Tuesday, the U.S. website Politico noted the newly revealed messages often raise more questions than answers. They show Stone in touch with seemingly high-ranking Israeli officials attempting to arrange meetings with Trump during the heat of the 2016 campaign. The newly released documents reveal the extent of communications between Stone and Assange, whose anti-secrecy website published Democratic emails hacked by Russians during the 2016 presidential election, and underscore efforts by Trump allies to gain insight about the release of information they expected would embarrass Democratic opponent Clinton. They were made public as Stone, convicted last year in Mueller's investigation into ties between Russia and the Trump campaign, awaits a date to surrender to a federal prison system that has grappled with outbreaks of the coronavirus. Oh, God. I forgot this is written 2020. In a June 2017 Twitter direct message citing in the records, Stone reassured Assange that the issue was still nonsense and said, as a journalist, it doesn't matter where you get information, only that it's accurate and authentic. He cited as an example the 1971 Supreme Court ruling that facilitated the publishing by newspapers of the Pentagon Papers, classified government documents about the Vietnam War. If the U.S. government moves on you, I will bring down the entire house of cards, Stone wrote, according to a transcript of the message cited in the search warrant affidavit. With the trumped-up sexual charges dropped, I don't know of any crime you need to be pardoned for. Best regards, R. All right, this is getting kind of interesting now, because now this is getting into kind of the ins and outs of Assange. So if we are to presume this is all true, then it really looks like the Trump administration burned Assange. because it looked like it was like, hey, you hook us up, kind of like they somehow facilitated this intel to get to WikiLeaks, to get dumped, kind of like, yo, we got you type deal, and yeah, he just gets fucked. All right, wow. Stone was likely referring to a sexual assault investigation dropped by Swedish authorities. Assange, who at the time was holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, was charged last year with a series of crimes by the U.S. Justice Department, including Espionage Act violations for allegedly directing former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning in one of the largest compromises of classified information in U.S. history. By the way, I do want to remind you guys, this is let you guys, because I don't think I said earlier, this is a Times of Israel piece. So it's not just some weird ass piece somewhere. All right. According to the documents, Assange, who was imprisoned in London and is fighting his extradition to the United States, responded to Stone's 2017 Twitter message by saying, between CIA and DOJ, they're doing quite a lot. On the DOJ side, that's coming mostly strongly from those obsessed with taking down Trump, trying to squeeze us into a deal. Stone replied that he was doing everything possible to address the issues at the highest level of government. The records illustrate the Trump campaign's curiosity about what information WikiLeaks was going to make public. Former White House advisor Steve Bannon told Mueller's team under questioning that he had asked Stone about WikiLeaks because he had heard that Stone had a channel of Assange and he was hoping for more releases of damaging information. Mueller's investigation identified significant contact between the 2016 campaign, or during the 2016 campaign, between Trump associates and Russians, but did not allege a criminal conspiracy to tip the outcome of the presidential election. In a statement Tuesday, Stone acknowledged that the search warrant affidavits contained private communication, but insisted that they proved no crimes. I have no trepidation about the release, as they confirmed there was no illegal activity and certainly no Russian collusion by me during the 2016 election. I mean, it's more Israel collusion, which, I mean, the wild thing is that, like, no one cares if you collude with Israel, because collusion means nothing. It just means you worked with them. I mean, like, I don't know. Once again, this is silly. No one really cares that there was Israel collusion, but we care there's Russian collusion because they're the bad guys. There is to this day no evidence I had or knew about the source or content of the WikiLeaks disclosures prior to their public release. So it sounds like Stone is denying some of this stuff. I don't know. Stone was among 6 associates of Trump charged in Mueller's investigation. He was convicted last year of lying to House lawmakers, tampering the witness, and obstructing Congress's own Russia probe. Judge in February sentenced Stone to 40 months in prison. The entire trial team quit. And between Trump and attorney William Barr, who said the president's tweets about ongoing case made his job impossible. All right, yeah, that's the end of the thing. All right, well, that's interesting. It makes you wonder what was really going on behind the scenes, because I sure as shit don't know. All right, let's check in with you guys. Yeah, I definitely kind of almost didn't do it, because I was like, I really didn't think there was going to be much in that, but that's pretty interesting. All right. Let's see what else they're gonna do. Checking into the chat, see what you all have to say. I'm a Diddy Defender. Free my boy. Yeah, go to toplobster.com. Go to a Diddy Defender shirt. Dude, what do you think about a big event to cover this huge shit show up? I mean, it's all so big and all related. The world will revolt if this all comes out. The whole system looks like the Matrix. Yeah, I mean, I've done a ton of coverage on Oklahoma City bombing on my show, so I'm definitely... And I don't know. Right now, my feeling is that, I don't know, it could be. If anything, as crazy as it sounds, I'm kind of more bullish on a blue beam type thing than I am like an actual Oklahoma City bombing or something like that. Although there was recently, I believe, Alex Jones was going on about that, which that doesn't mean much, but just kind of the point of like that talking point kind of got brought up recently. It kind of hit the... almost hit the mainstream, or I guess you could say the mainstream, depending on how you're looking at it. But either way, that narrative did kind of get pushed out there, that it looks like maybe we could have some sort of deep event. Now, deep event, I don't know if it will legitimately be some sort of fucking like OKC or some sort of false flag or something. Well, I mean, I guess it would be a false flag, but it wouldn't be the false flag in the sense that like, hey, a bunch of people died or some stuff in some sort of standard type thing, like a bombing or a shooting or whatever. I think we're getting... My real thing on that is I think OKC is kind of somewhat a good example of this, because I think why the Oklahoma City bombing is kind of almost like an Achilles heel of the establishment. I mean, Achilles heel might be putting a little bit too strong, but it's kind of the point that I think the Oklahoma City bombing happened in 1995. So we were at a time technologically where we had things like video cameras, phones. We had like the car phones. We had a lot of the technology we have now, but like in an earlier form. But we didn't have quite the distribution network they do. We had the internet, but it wasn't what we have now. So we had all of this ability to document stuff, but we didn't really have the ability to distribute like we do now. But all that information was out there, and so that as time goes on, the ability to distribute has gotten to the point where it is, and now we're kind of realizing all this stuff is kind of being collected and put together and getting distributed now, because it's like now we're getting the distribution. But it's a little bit behind the curve, because obviously it's not as hot because it happened in 95, but the point is that it's there. So if we can get people's eyes on it, to focus on it, that is the sort of thing that I really think can start seeing glaring issues. Because when something happens in like the 50s or something, when they didn't really have things to really document it as well, or it's a lot harder. Point being is this kind of like bringing it back to now. If something like this is to happen now, some sort of deep event that has a lot of moving parts, this is something that's way harder for the powers that be to control all the different factors. So it leaves them way more open to exposure. So the idea that they would go super hard in the paint on something like that, kind of hard to believe, because I really just feel like we're at a point now where like that would get exposed super quick. So if they were to do something like that, they would have to do it at some sort of like moment where it's like a linchpin moment, where it's like to get their thing through, so that it's like the sort of like a kind of like right now where they seem to be making a big push to with Russia Ukraine, because it's like, hey, we're in a lame duck period. So it's like there's nothing we can really do if somehow war does like accelerate or get worse. It's like this is where we're at right now. There's nothing we could do. So, I guess I kind of contributes to my point to where I guess they could do a deep event now, but it's like the idea of a deep event where a new administration is coming in and that's going to be the focus. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. Now, something like as crazy as it may sound, something like a blue beam is actually, in a weird way, I think, an op that's more easily controllable, more easy to pull off. Obviously, there's many different ways you can go about this, but all you really need is some crazy, UFO videos here and there. You could have some people die or something. Does someone actually have to die? No, not really. But the point is, you could really easily control the way the information comes out in a story like this, as opposed to something like a federal building getting blown up again or something like that. I feel like there would be too much information that leaks out there, and they would get exposed too quickly. Whereas something like a blue beam, where it's like, oh, there's aliens or whatever, it's super easy. All you need is some crazy UFO videos, some claims here and there that are like kind of hard to contend with, because it's kind of just like eyewitness reports type deal. I think that's kind of my feeling, but I might be wrong. It could really be like an OKC type thing again, but. Either way, I think the knowledge of these sort of things is what, in a weird way, makes it less likely to happen. It's not collusion when it's in your own state. That's from Biblical Anarchy. What's up, Jacob? I've been hooked on her OKC vids. Not gonna lie. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, or asteroid coming sort of thing. Yeah, could be. I also think if you guys saw, I forget what it's called, that video that was on Netflix, that was the Obama-made movie that was the fucking, like the internet went down. That's a possibility too. So I don't know. That seems to be more the type of things that we would be doing right now. Do you think Biggie was getting the Diddy treatment? I don't know. Probably. He was probably sucking dick like every single other one of them. Look at fucking Tupac. That dude was queerer than a $12 bill. Information is instant now. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Hard work to pull off a big thing. Natural disaster combined with something. Yeah, again, you're definitely in the target area. Yep. All right, guys, let's go ahead and transition over to our ongoing, I guess, kind of little mini-series within this series where we're covering the Beyond the Dutroux affair. I think whenever we do finally get through this, I think there's another a semi-long PatCon operation or PatCon article that I want to go through. But anyways, that'll be a long way in the future because we are still like... We're on right now. If I go to the table of contents, we are on part 5 out of 19. Like, we're just starting 5 now. This is the 3rd part. So it is pretty long, but hey, it's comprehensive, so there will be a lot of information. A lot of it's pretty redundant. They repeat a lot of things, but hey, if you follow me through this, by the end of this, you will probably be one of the best people out there on information when it comes to the Dutroux affair, because most people don't do this. I mean, most people have maybe watched a podcast on this. So, and I mean, I guess you are too, but you're watching a podcast where I'm literally reading a gigantic article with all the information in it to you. All right, let's get into that. Let me share screen. Beyond the Dutroux affair. All right, Nihul. This is where we're at now. This is the Nihul guy I was talking about earlier. One of the most important reasons for speculation about a network has been Michel Nihul. This person had been arrested on August 16th after the investigators of Brule and Connerat found out that on August 10th, one day after I think that's an incorrect spelling, because I swear I've seen it spelled somewhere else. Anyways, I swear that's the wrong spelling. But anyways, and Dutroux had kidnapped Letitia. Nihul had supplied Lerv. What the fuck? I swear it was spelled differently. Lerv. I can't even spell it. Lerv. All right, whatever. What the fuck? That's really going to bug me that it's spelled that way. I swear it was spelled different somewhere else. All right, anyways, because I can't even say that word. All right, anyways, Nihul had supplied Lerv. God, why am I having such trouble with that? Free of charge with 1,000 ecstasy pills. The original investigators immediately suspected that these pills served as a payment for the kidnapping of Letitia, suspicions which were only fueled when Nihul was unable to provide an alibi for August 8th. I do want to make a point real quick about these ecstasy pills. I find that interesting. 1,000 ecstasy pills. Which I've talked about this in the series. I've been so fucking busy lately. I've had a lot of stuff going on. If you guys have been following my show, you do know I have a lot going on in my personal life. So, but point being, so I haven't gotten around to emailing, Sam Tripoli's Booker yet to set up our, me and Austin's upcoming appearance on there, because for those, I did tell you guys, he told us to do that after my episode with him on Already Dead, so we should be going on there sometime, I would assume, in the next few months or so. It'll probably be a while. But what we proposed was like an everything conspiracy Gladio. Like, the idea of Gladio is, in a sense, kind of multiple conspiracies going on at the same time. It's because, you got shit like drug trafficking, gun trafficking, sex trafficking. You got MK Ultra. You got, you could even add in like Nazi origins. So there is a lot. The point being is that this kind of wraps up so many different things into one. And this is kind of one, and I think the Dutroux affair is probably one of the best examples of this, because it has like direct connections to Gladio, which I'm sure we'll get into maybe in this article. But to point to the drug trafficking thing, which is kind of like the Barry Seal off the books type, funds for black ops, they usually use drugs as their form of currency, essentially. So I find it interesting that Nihul used 1,000 pills of ecstasy for this, because it's not like you're going to pay someone with legit normal money. All right. The original investigators immediately suspect these pills served as a payment, which were only fueled when Nihul was unable to provide an alibi for August 8th, the day when at least 8 witnesses claimed to have seen Nihul in Bertrix at and around the location where Letitia would be kidnapped the next day. Additionally, some of these witnesses claimed to have seen Nihul in the presence of Dutroux or his van, who was carrying out an initial surveillance that day. Both Dutroux's wife, Michelle Martin, and Michael Lelevre, specified that Dutroux, at least in some cases, kidnapped girls according to specific wishes of clients. Martin stated that one of these clients was Michelle Nihul. Michelle Martin, Dutroux's wife, is quoted saying, "I have heard Mark personally telling Lelevre that he should bring a girl for Michelle Nihul. If I haven't mentioned that before, that is because I'm afraid of that gang. I mean Nihul, Mark Dutroux, and others in Brussels. I mean well-placed individuals who Nihul knew. The connections of Nihul made me fear for my children and myself. I was afraid because Jan Michel Nihul, Mark Dutroux, and Michel Lelevre, how was I pronouncing before? All right, anyways, were part of the gang that was involved in all kinds of business like drugs, pills, girls, and forged papers, for which Nihul would later indeed be convicted, just as human trafficking. I have to say that at the time of the kidnapping of Sabine and Letitia, Michelle Nihul, as I already stated, often called to SARS to my home. He was looking for Mark Dutroux. He didn't call for me. When Nihul tried to reach Mark, he always remained vague. I always knew why he called so often to Mark Dutroux. Over time, I became more and more convinced that Mark Dutroux and Jean-Michel Nihul did things that couldn't stand the light of day and which I was not supposed to know about. By the way, Mark told me that he went more and more to Brussels and met an increasing number of people in light of his activities with Michel Nihul. Nihul always gave me the impression that he had many connections that he could count on. Mark Dutroux told me that Nihul had taken care of many of Lalaire's problems. He had prevented that he was arrested, he had worked out his fines, and solved his money problems. Mark had accurately sensed that he would benefit from continuing to see Nihul because of his connections and those of his wife, the lawyer. The more they saw each other, the more they opened up, of course. I think that at a certain moment, a mutual trust was built. I see evidence of that in a conversation between Lalaive and Mark that I coincidentally heard and in which Dutroux said that they had to bring back a girl for Nihul. I think that Jean-Michel had influence on Mark Dutroux. Mark often told me that he was impressed by the connections Nihul had. Michel Lalaive. Okay. Mark always told me that he kidnapped girls for people who had placed an order with him. When he came out of prison in March 1996, I asked him who did the orders when he was in jail. He answered me that somebody else did that and that he certainly wasn't the only one. When we went to pick up a girl, Marx wanted that she corresponded with the order, small hips. He gave me a description of the girl that we were looking for. One day I asked him why they, Anne and Yif, were still with him, even though he claimed he had an order. He told me that the people who had placed the order had come, but that they weren't interested in them. Dutroux explained to me that he had conditioned the girls to be obedient and submissive when they arrived at customers. Keep in mind, earlier in this thing, a couple of the girls had gone to a hypnotism show prior to getting kidnapped, which is bizarre. And then obviously now you have Dutroux talking about conditioning girls. I would like to reveal other things about Jean-Michel Nihul, but I don't want these testimonies... that these testimonies are taken up in the dossier. As I said, I fear for my life and those around me. I remind you that Nihul told me the following: if you cross me, I will destroy you. With those words, he made it known to me that he would kill me or have me killed. Although convicted for financial fraud, drug, and human trafficking due to an overwhelming amount of evidence, Nihul was ultimately acquitted from charges that he was involved in the kidnapping and murder of any of Dutroux's girls. However, to anyone who has taken an in-depth look into the case, it's clear that a whole lot of leads had to be ignored and discarded before this conclusion could be reached, raising two important questions: how and why? Nihul was ultimately acquitted. I do think he did end up serving some sort of time, but I don't think it was the charges involved with the kidnapping and the unaliving he did not, is what it seems like. All right, victim witnesses come forward. This will probably be the last portion of this we read today. Probably the most important and underreported thing that happened in the aftermath of the Dutroux affair was that a number of victims from PDF networks felt that it was their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to testify about what they had experienced. Until Connerat and Brûlé were able to arrest Dutroux and Nihul and retrieve two missing girls, these victim witnesses did not know who in the Justice Department they could trust. Many of these victims already had tried to speak to the authorities, but investigations never got off the ground. The victims knew the reason. Among their abusers were the most powerful men in Belgium: police commissioners, gendarme officers, judges, bankers, businessmen, politicians, and high nobility figures. Not all, but most of these victims who came to Neufchâteau to testify about the network were designated with an X, followed by a number. Although some of these women later on turned to have known each other from the network, at the time they decided to testify to Neufchâteau, none of them had been in contact with each other for many years. Their interviews were conducted separately, and they did not have access to each other's testimonies. A short introduction to each victim follows. So we're going to probably end this off with introducing you to all of the X-dossier individuals, which is pretty interesting, and obviously we will probably build off this in the future episodes. All right, X1. Born in 1969, abused and neglected by her parents. When 2 years old, sent to her grandmother in Nyoc, who owned a hotel villa that was used as a brothel for high-level PDFs and sadists. PDF videos were also shot there. According to her pimp, Tony Vandenbogart, at age 4, who began to take her to other locations for abuse of a certain kind and torture, sent back to her parents in Ghent in June 1979 for a variety of reasons. Extremely neglected by her parents for several months until her old pimp showed up again. For years, she was taken to abuse and torture parties. Managed to hook up with a boy she fell in love with, married, and immediately moved out in 1988, which appears to have saved her from ending up in a snuff movie. Never managed to break away completely from the network. Sometimes when her husband left the house for a few days to work as a truck driver, a pimp and some of his associates would show up and take her with them to locations where children were abused. On these occasions, she was raped herself or had to participate in abuse against others. X1 was diagnosed with MPD/DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, which is common in MK Ultra type stuff. It's multiple personality disorder. Oh, see, MPD, multiple personality disorder, is what it was used to be known as. I believe it's known as DID now. So yeah, multiple personality is essentially the idea of creating a schism in your ego, creating separate egos. All right. Natalie C., which is X7. Born in 1969, contacted by the BOB after testimonies from X1. First denied knowing anything about X1, it soon turned out that she was heavily traumatized and probably had MPD/DID, which this is a common thing, is the DID thing is common with trauma. Like this is like supposedly the only way it's presented is through trauma. So this is why it's commonly associated with MK Ultra type things or these sorts of networks. This is why it kind of goes hand in hand with these the trafficking networks go hand in hand with MK Ultra is what it seems to be. All right. After having been brought in for an interview, she began to speak about her father, how he abused her, a certain type of abuse. Obviously, keep in mind, I'm changing words. I'm trying to not get this hit for saying certain words, and that way I don't lose views on these. That way we can try to get this out to the most people possible. And how he liked to mutilate her sister with cigarettes. She then confirmed that she had been X1's best friend, that she knew about the relationship of a certain kind with Tony, and that she had been forbidden to go to the first floor of the hotel via of X1's grandma. The interviews were canceled by later investigators. X4 identified X7 as a girl who was forced to play in PDF movies. Obviously, you know what I mean when I say PDF. Chantel S., born in 1968, another woman contacted by the BOP after testimonies from X1. Immediately knew what it was about. Abused of a certain kind by her parents, her grandmother was into Satanism, moved with her parents to Nyok at age 6, and was sometimes brought to the hotel via of X1's grandmother. Here she was also abused of a certain kind, although she didn't have to endure the extreme torture sessions that X1 regularly underwent. Confirmed that one of the abusers indeed was nicknamed Monsieur, had seen X1 being threatened with a revolver by her grandmother. Like X7, she was forbidden to go to the first floor. Chantel's testimonies resulted in a verbal fight between her husband and parents, in which her father admitted to have brought her to X1's grandmother. Tried to commit suicide and was taken up again in a mental institution. X4 identified Chantel also as a girl who was forced to play in PDF movies. All right. X2, police officer who worked on an aspect of the Dutroux investigation. When the X1 case was discussed during a meeting, participants noticed that she seemed very upset. After discussing her history of child abuse with one of her superior officers, she decided to become a witness. X1 had ended up as a mistress to a magistrate in Brussels and later to a higher-level officer and spokesperson to the Justice Department who was a member of the Rotary. These two men were a part of a network in which she was abused from the mid to late 1980s. X2 was spared from the extreme torture sessions but heard other girls speak about child unalives and was present at a hunting party on children, which is something other hexes have also spoken about. Some of the abusers and locations where this abuse was going on turned out to be the same as mentioned by X1 and other exes. Withdrew as a witness when she saw that the investigation was being sabotaged, something which didn't surprise her. Yep. X3 had been in the network for a long time ago, from 1950 to 1962. From age 3 to 12, she had been severely abused and tortured at home, together with her sister. After that age, her father and his influential group of friends brought her into the network. She described the same elements as other ex-witnesses, although the scale of one of the meetings she described is hard to accept without any of the other witnesses backing up the practices at this specific location. Some of those involved were in fact mentioned by others. Before contacting Neufchâteau, X3 had already written anonymously about her experiences with child abuse, and she was well respected for her work with other child abuse victims. It took 5 interviews before investigators wrote anything down, and even after writing summaries of her testimony, it was attempted to leave out the royal family as much as possible, an unwritten rule in Belgium because the king, in theory, can't be prosecuted. X4. Born in 1965, like X1, X4 had been persuaded by a friend to testify. As a young child, she was loaned out by her mother to a pimp named Jock V, who produced SM movies with children. SM. I don't even know what SM means. Her story largely parallels, I would assume not good. Her story largely, S&M maybe, which is like a bondage type stuff. I think that's what they mean. Okay. Her story largely paralleled that of X1, although X4 experienced everything from within different sects. She recognized 2 childhood friends of X1 who had been abused and named some of the same perpetrators as the other witnesses. X4's parents turned out to live next to a villa where X1 claimed a friend had been abused to such an extent that she died. All right. Sorry, I accidentally looked over the chat real quick. All right, Natalie W., born in 1965. With support from her therapist, she gave her first testimony to the gendarmerie in February 1996, 6 months before the Dutroux affair. The officer who interviewed her refused to write down an official report. Okay. In July 1996, she found 2 other gendarme officers who were willing to work with her. So this is before the affair that she was already going to her therapist and gave testimony to essentially what's the military police, the gendarme or whatever, and they refused to do an official report at that point. All right, that's interesting. In July 1996, she found 2 other officers who were willing to work with her. Natalie told how she had been raped by her father, a member of the Rotary, since the age of 6. Soon thereafter, brought into the network and was abused by her father's friends at parties in different villas in the region of Waterloo. When 10 years old, handed by her father to a prince and his main aide, who continued to take her to different abuse parties in Belgium. Confirmed X1 story about the Les Atrabats Club, Nihul and Tony. In turn, X1 recognized Natalie as a girl from the network and accurately placed her at Les Atrabats. Even though Natalie confirmed aspects of X1's story, she was easily discredited by her new interrogators, as she was not only suffered from extreme psychological trauma, MPD/DID, but also from pathomimy, which is a tendency to inflict physical harm to one's own body in order to play the victim, which you would think would also be another thing that could be likely from a shitload of trauma. All right, the last psychological quirk seemed to have surfaced mainly after her original interviewers were replaced by 2 extremely abusive ones, like would happen with X1. She couldn't handle this pressure and quit testifying in March 1997. Natalie was severely prosecuted for having dared to step forward with her story, maybe even more than X1. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out the Franklin scandal, which I believe, John DeCamp, I believe, wrote a book on it, and also Nick Bryant did as well. Great book. I read the Bryant book. I haven't read the DeCamp one. But there's a lot of parallels here, because in that case too, a lot of the victims had a lot of these DID or drug issues or all sorts of issues, and so they use this to discredit them, which ironically likely were issues they had as a result of their incredible trauma experience as children, which obviously isn't an excuse for behaving that way, but it definitely makes it far more understandable and makes it kind of crazy to use that as a way to discredit someone. So. But anyways, just saying that there's quite the parallel there. All right, VM1, a gangster who came to Neuf Chateau in February 1997, told how he had been brought up in a children's home in Mont Saint-Guibert. From age 9 to 13, he was regularly picked up from his home by a local juvenile judge who brought him to abuse parties and villas around Brussels. Said that he later worked as a child, seller of things that are bad in Le Murano, an elitist club visited by some of the same men who featured in the testimonies of other victim witnesses above, including Nihul. Within 2 days of his supposedly secret testimony, VM1 was stopped on the streets and threatened with death, which, if you guys have been following these morning dumps, I did a while ago, which wasn't a part of this article, but I read the 25 plus suspicious deaths in connection with this whole affair. So it's this guy being threatened with death is not at all out of the ordinary in this case. If anything, it's out of the ordinary that he seems like he may have lived through this. Notice how these victims ended up in the network. Instead of having been grabbed from the streets, they were brought in by their own families, or in one case, taken from a children's home. At least in Western Europe, the idea of a lonely PDF grabbing children from the street only seems applicable in a relatively small amount of cases, especially permanent abductions. There's a significant amount of evidence that a lot of child abuse happens within networks consisting of degenerate families and their acquaintances, who are exploited and protected, really for reasons not fully understood, by people higher up in the food chain. Children in the network often are forced to bring in other children. The new ones are then controlled through certain psychological routines, including threats, shame, and guilt. I mean, while this does seem bizarre and weird, this would be one of the better ways to protect you from exposure, because as they're kind of pointing out here, the abduction, obtaining your product, quote unquote, obviously it's an evil way to put it, but I'm trying to watch my words. Is if you're getting that just on the streets, or whatever, just abducting people, you're far more likely to open yourself up to exposure. As opposed to if you have families who are connected, kind of like the families that rule above us, there seem to be weird fucks. I mean, we talked about the Rothschilds earlier. I believe, if I recall correctly, I think there's even like weird quotes out there from like Rothschilds or maybe some of these other big families about like keeping in the family. I don't know. It's just, these are weird families. So if this sort of things were happening in these, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. And this does seem to be a through line. I mean, maybe it's just crazy conspiracy, a meme virus that's passed around, but from my reading and reputable things like Nick Bryant books and stuff like that, it seems to be... Actually, no, I think about it. I don't think I remember that being a Nick Bryant. But my point being is I have seen this other places. So it's just, yeah. All right. Anyways, although victim witnesses often report having witnessed many murders in these networks, including children... I meant to not say that word. Oh, well. Including children from Western Europe, data about child disappearances and deaths is very uncategorized and therefore very inconsistent. As for the whole of Belgium, estimates range from at least 43 disappearances between 1973 and 1996 to as many as 1,022 in 1 year. All right, well, that's quite the range. With the DA's office in Brussels claiming that approximately 280 children a year go missing in just Brussels alone. Also, if victims from these networks or some of the above network numbers are correct, the obvious conclusion is that the media is not paying attention to many, if not the majority, of child disappearances and deaths, which in case of the British media seem to be true. One interesting aspect about many victim witnesses from different countries have testified about is a very similar psychological approach used to allow the victims of even the most sadistic abuse to function somewhat in society, therefore not raising any really alarming questions in the immediate surroundings of the child. We were referring here to the encouraging and maintaining of multiple personality disorder in the victims. MPD has these days been renamed to dissociative identity disorder. It basically is a psychological disorder in which the mind and the memory of the victim is shattered in 10, 100, or possibly 1,000 different subpersonalities, making testifying extremely difficult and a very long-term process. Several ex-dossier witnesses still heavily suffered from this disorder at the time they began to testify. All right, we have questioning the altars next, and we will get into that next time on the next one. I do want to let you guys know next week... I don't know what days I'll be doing this, because you guys, I've told you guys this multiple times, that the reason why I've been doing all these morning shows is because I went part-time, and so now I have this opening on typically Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, occasionally Monday, Tuesday as well, where I have openings in the morning, so we can do these morning streams, these morning shows. Next week, that is not the case. Next week, I will be... my wife took a few days off, so I'm going to be working those days. So she got some, essentially leave from work for, bereavement for her mom dying. So she's taking next week off, but that makes it so I'm going to go work those days because I don't have to drive her to work. Point being is there will probably... I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what days are available next week for my work, so I'll have to hit up my boss, ask him what days are available, what shifts are available. So you may get one or two of these next week, but my point being is there's going to be less of them. So, and yeah. There's an outside possibility I may go back to full-time here soon. So... I don't know. I mean, I appreciate a lot of you guys who did up the support, but I just, shit is just too tight. So... I mean, if you guys want to rally and change that, I'm not going to stop you. But I mean, I'm also not like e-begging, so I mean, I'm doing what I got to do. But if you do like this and you want to keep seeing more of it, that is the way to do it. I mean, if you want to keep me doing this, then you probably should throw some money in there. I see Stinky Sock 420 said, "Man, I wish we could super chat." Well, you can on Rumble. Let me actually go take a peek over there and make sure that I'm not missing any. But yeah, you can over on Rumble. That we do stream over on Rumble for these, and definitely I would really like for you guys to go on over to Rumble, because you never know when I'm going to get fucked and they're going to take down this YouTube channel, because, I mean, look what we're talking about right now. So, yeah, there's a good chance that this goes bye-bye at some point. So, point being is going over to Rumble. You also can super chat there. So, all right, let's run through the chat real quick before we get out of here. All right, boom, boom, boom. Let me see. Covering the news plus history is a full-time job and a half, and we still have normal jobs. Yeah, for real. Yep. So also hope your wife is doing okay, brother. Your family is in my prayers. Yeah, I mean, I think I've said we got her on we got her on some new meds a while back when she had all her seizures. We haven't really had any breakthroughs yet, but it's still like, it seems like it's kind of close. So, I mean, me going back to full-time is not ideal, because that means she's going to have to start driving herself to work again. But it's just one of those things that, like, hey, it's just the math just doesn't math. So we got to go back to work unless something changes. So, but, yeah. All right. I'd like to keep doing this, though. So, yes, I love Sam. That's how I found you. Plus, your intros are awesome. Little bit like boys over at War Mode podcast. Go Dogs. I've literally never watched that show. People bring that up all the time. I'll go sub you, mate you, and okay, all right. The king can't technically be prosecuted. Guillotines enter the chat in Minecraft. Yep. Checking Black Friday deals for wood chippers. Yeah, Nick Bryan has a channel. Hours of good stuff. Yeah, great podcast. Go check out Nick Bryan. All right, guys, we are almost an hour and a half. We have gone through quite a lot today. I appreciate you guys joining me for this. I love you all. Oh, there we go. $5 super chat from Stinky Sock 420. Happy late Turkey Day, Jose. Fuck them engines. Yeah, fuck them engines. I don't have any problems with engines. I actually have a brother-in-law who's Indian. So, well, step-brother-in-law. So, but they're cool. Yeah, appreciate you guys. So I appreciate that, Stinky Sock. Yeah, we're going to head and go get out of here, guys. I appreciate all the support. If you guys do want to keep these morning shows going, and, you want a way to, do that, then you got to support me. It's just that simple. If you don't want to, that's fine. It just will likely go away at some point, and we'll probably just go back to just the already dead episodes once a week. I mean, I'll still put out content. So, if I go back to full time, so it'll go back to, like I said, it'll be the Already Dead and the one No Way Jose a week. So it'll be basically go to like 2 podcasts a week, not counting Tower Gang. But if you like this, and then maybe the occasional morning dump, because I don't work. Some days I wouldn't work. So we'll still get these occasionally. It just will not be like a regular 3 to 5 days a week thing like you guys may have started to get used to. It may be like a once a week to once every other week type thing. So just throwing it out there. But yeah, if you want to support that, if you do want to keep that going, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. The highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. I'm my co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad. I also have at AbrogateDees at ZOVERACK at _ Infinite Zeal. Then Jacob Daniel, a Biblical Anarchy podcast at Biblical Anarchy. You've seen him in the chat today. Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Kleeble, which at some point I need to go through and do one of his Sandy Hook threads. I actually have it saved in there. It's just one of those days when I have like enough time to get into that. And then I also have Will Bell, Rabbit Eye, Blueberry Wine. Go check that out. It's delicious stuff. And a big fan of the show at Real Josh Elliott. Then Torrin May. I appreciate you guys for supporting what I do. If you want to follow me, go ahead and do that over at Tower Gang Jose on Twitter. Because I'm sharing that there too. So if you for some reason prefer the Twitter player as opposed to YouTube or Rumble, then that might be for you. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Yeah, everyone, if you're here and you're not liking this right now, you're wrong. So make sure you're hitting those like buttons, boosting this up, sharing this around. But yeah, well, hell yeah, just Rumble is just shit. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's okay, I guess. Thanks, bro, again. Love the show. Thank you, guys. But all right, yeah, Sandy Hook dive would be good. I've done Sandy Hook series, so there's another reason to go to Rumble. That is not on YouTube because obvious reasons. So go on over to Rumble for that one and look for that. I don't remember how many I did. I want to say at least 3. We may have done more. That was me and Tim Tuttle. So go check those out. So hopefully this weekend, guys, I can get the my podcast hosts up and working again for you guys. There should be like 3 or 4 of them dropping all at once. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. But yeah, I love you all. Deuces.